40th annual general meeting, and to acknowledge the directors who are in the room. Sufi Dean, Abigail Chang, who I'm going to be talking about in a minute, Arietta Lama, Rajesh, and our recently appointed Sakyusa Mbolira, who's here. That's everybody that's here at the moment. We've just completed the board meeting, and Peter Eitze, who's obviously based in Port Moresby, has been with us, but won't be with us for this AGM. I'd also like to acknowledge Eric. Eric Larson is here today, so great to have you here in person. Normally we have you as an enthusiastic participant on Zoom. So great to have you here with us today. Before we begin the business of the AGM, I just thought I'd start with some opening remarks, just to provide shareholders with some context as to where CFL is at the moment. These are I will circulate a copy of these remarks, but to be read and understood in addition to the comments that I've made in the annual report. But there are a few things that have moved on since we published the annual report. And so I thought I'd just take this as an opportunity to update shareholders on a couple of these things. Of course, one of the big things that's coming up shortly is our 40th birthday celebrations. We decided to really make this a big deal this year. Well, it is a big deal. It's something which is an important time to reflect back. I have to admit, we're not an organization that likes to reflect back too much. We tend to focus on moving forward, but I think this is a useful opportunity for us. And you will see quite a bit of publicity as we lead up to the big events, which are scheduled July 3rd to 5th. We have a range of targeted events aimed at both our current team members and past team members. We have a huge and quite influential alumni, which includes 3 members of cabinet currently, amongst many others, who have been part of our team over the last 40 years. So we intend to have an event to celebrate their support, and also as part of that will be some advertiser-related events acknowledging their contribution, and most importantly, a major event in Albert Park, a musical event in Mount Albert Park, which will be happening on July 5th, our birthday, focusing on our listeners as a key participant and partner over the last 40 years. Really does recognize the fact that over that 40 years, CFL has grown from being one of the region's smallest broadcasters with Suva's FM 96 to now one of the largest, if not the largest broadcaster in the region 40 years later. So please stay tuned for details on that, and we look forward to you participating in those activities. Across the Communications Fiji Limited Group, we're facing a number of key challenges, and really it's the same as many other broadcasters across the world. The most important one is the fact that how do we grow revenue, particularly in an environment where salaries and wages are growing rapidly. We recognize that we are a talent-driven organization. We are dependent on talent, and so retention is critical to growth. But we see challenges to our traditional revenue sources, particularly coming from online and other areas of challenges in these particular areas. So this is a key part of what we're focusing on now. There are a couple of things that will help us in that process. The big one for us, of course, is that shareholders will be aware that earlier this year we signed with government our first public broadcasting agreement. This long-awaited contract recognises the role that Communications Fiji Limited plays in providing the people of Fiji with critical public information services. And I want to acknowledge and thank the current government for offering us this opportunity. Public service broadcasting, even though we are a private broadcaster, has been part of our lifeblood ever since we began. And it's actually a key part of our sort of philosophy. And I think an important reason for why we have such a strong bond with our audience. Being there, particularly in the difficult times, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, across the nation, is really an important part of what we're about. And it is the reason why we are who we are. I remind shareholders that we actually have the largest broadcast network in the nation, independently owned, significantly larger than the national broadcaster, and that's something that we're extremely proud of. The fact that we are finally getting some public money to help us in that process and to provide shareholders with a little bit of a return on that long-term investment, I think is only right, and is a great acknowledgement of the kind of commitment that the shareholders have made over the years. So we do appreciate that recognition. That agreement totals just over $1.7 million. Will run till the end of July next year. And obviously the team is working hard to make sure that we look to renew that agreement once it's complete. And it will have, admittedly, a significant effect on CFL's bottom line. We are conscious that receiving those funds there is a danger in us sort of resting on our laurels, as one might say, and allowing that to erode our competitiveness in terms of commercial operations. I have to say that we've just completed a board meeting. It's a hot topic around the board table to make sure that we keep the two areas of revenue separate, and shareholders can rest assured that we are measuring vigorously the fact that our commercial operations cannot be eroded by the public service operations. I think the other area, as I've mentioned earlier, is that those commercial revenue opportunities have been consistently under threat and of being eroded by the new challenges coming in the digital space. As I've said before to shareholders, the good news is that CFL is well prepared for this. In fact, we started preparing for this 25 years ago when we launched Fiji Village. And the brand and the strength of that particular brand is really setting us up strongly for the future. It has been and still is the number one online portal, media portal, news portal in the country, and has in certain times been the number one website in the country. I think we're now number 2 behind Fiji Airways, I suspect. But we are still, Fiji Village is a key part of our operations. And as an important media brand for us, we see it as we're starting to see now us receiving a return on investment on that, with rapidly growing advertising revenues on Fiji Village. We're about to launch a new look Fiji Village, which will give us further opportunities to grow that area. But that's not all. We are living in a world of social media and social media influencers. And what we have recognized in recent times is the power of our talent in driving that business as well. And we are, in the end, not only the number one radio stations, but we are actually the number one influencers in the country as well. I think recently I was looking at a result, I think something like 3.1 million followers per week is a recent number. There are some bigger numbers over certain peak events that have happened recently, where we've seen surges of social media around some special events and some difficult events as well in recent history for CFL. So the reach as far as social media is concerned is huge, and we are starting to find ways to receive returns on that as far as shareholders are concerned as well. And this is also reflected in Papua New Guinea. We're building similar kinds of digital operations and brands there as well. Speaking of Papua New Guinea, shareholders will be aware that last year was our 30th anniversary, and we used that as a bit of a model actually for our 40th anniversary, which has been quite useful. But of course the big event around that was the launch, and we moved into our new home, our only wholly owned new home in Port Moresby. And those new studio facilities are really unmatched in the region. I think they're probably some of the most technologically advanced in the region. And they really have, the PNG FM team has been enjoying that new home, and we are anticipating a good performance from our PNG FM operations this year, particularly as we are starting to see some solid economic growth in that market, and so that's looking very positive. And just say our Fiji team are a little envious of their PNG colleagues enjoying all this new technology, and that is the next phase for CFL. We will be looking to invest in upgrading studio facilities here. We've started that process already, and they will be ongoing over the next 6 months or so. So there will be quite a new look here, also reflecting this multiple, working on the fact that we are now operating on multiple platforms, both the traditional radio, but also online. In audio, video, you name it, we're there. It's really where we're at the moment. Also, just comment for shareholders, something to note, next week we will host Fiji Showcase. This is significant because we have, as a strategic move, moved Fiji Showcase into June. It means that our half-year result will be significantly better than it was in previous years, and has allowed us to sort of balance half-year and full-year results, and shareholders can expect that once we announce in August, the impact of that once we announce in August. We will continue the practice of declaring dividends, and typically we've done it on the basis of a half-year result, the calendar year result at the end of the year in December 31st, and obviously after the audit is complete with a final result then. So that process will continue, and I think shareholders will be well pleased with their returns in the future based on what I've just talked about. Finally, shareholders, I'd just like to note that we've made some changes at board level over the last 6 months or so. We farewelled our independent director, Josephine Newjoy, who served as chair of our audit risk subcommittee for the last 7 years. Really terribly grateful for the efforts of Josephine and the impact that she's had on this organization. She's helped guide us through a real period of transition and provided us with a lot of experience and discipline in this key area. As her replacement, we welcome as our new independent director, and also taking over in that role as chair of our ARC committee, Abigail Chang. Abigail joins us with a lot of experience in the area of governance and finance, and particularly the banking sector, both here, but also as importantly in Papua New Guinea as well. And so we're really looking forward to working with Abigail. I will admit I have been trying to get Abigail on our board for quite some time, and I'm very pleased that she's finally joined us. Also to note that the Unit Trust of Fiji has been a long-time investor in CFL as one of our major institutional investors. And as a result, it has been our tradition to invite the Unit Trust of Fiji to nominate a director. We had earlier in the year, Prastika Payal was a member of our board. She resigned and we are welcoming her replacement, Sakyusa Mbolera, who comes with a lot of media experience and broadcast experience, and we look forward to his contribution going forward. But on that note, I'd just like to thank shareholders for your ongoing support. It's been an interesting few years as we've dealt with the challenges post-COVID and coming out, and all the changes that have gone on, particularly in this market and in the PNG market. I really feel that we are now entering into a very positive phase of growth and development, and I'm really looking forward to the next few years. So, with those few words, I will get on with the agenda. And the first item of business is to confirm the minutes from the previous AGM. We've circulated those as part of the annual report. Can I get somebody to move that they be confirmed? Ask a shareholder. Okay. Yes, okay, thank you. Noting that. Okay. Board Secretary, could we please note that? Thank you, Eric. Can I have somebody second that as a shareholder? I have a shareholder that's in the room that can... Sorry, who's out the back? Fijian Holdings, thank you. Okay, thank you very much. All right, election of directors. I've already mentioned that we have the appointment of Abigail Chang to fill a vacancy following the retirement of Josephine Ejoy. And so can I have, I'm happy to move her name as a director. Can I have somebody second that? Thank you, Eric. We have the reappointment of Sufinaz Dean as the director of the company. I don't think it's appropriate that I should move that, but somebody, a shareholder, Jyoti, noting your interest as a shareholder in this meeting. I have somebody second that. Thank you, Eric. Okay. So noting those appointments, under special business, I will discuss the appointment of Sakyusa. Can we move now?